Okay, y'all. Welcome to the last episode of Stimming in Stilettos for 2025. It has literally been the longest year. 365 days or 63 days uh, by the time of this recording. So I have some things I want to talk about. I don't have a guest today. It's just me and you settling in to talk about what happened this year and what it means if you are a minority woman in STEM. And then where I think we should go from here. And then my own personal experience, because y'all, when I tell you it's been a year, it has literally been a year. This is not a highlight reel, though there were some high points. So I can't say everything was all bad, right? This is more of a reflection. It's a reckoning. It's a reset. It's all of those things all kind of combined into one. So for me, stimming in stilettos means so much to me, right? It started as a thought, an idea, a phrase, I would say. And actually, I was batting it back and forth with my husband about what I could talk about, who I wanted to talk to, who I wanted to impact, and why it mattered. And then it became more of a mindset. I'm stimming in stilettos, right? I'm fully a woman, and I own my womanhood in all the ways that is possible to own your womanhood. I also am a minority woman. I'm a Black woman. I'm a proud Black woman. And I can't take that back. And I wouldn't want to, because my lived and life experiences are the things that make me who I am at the end of the day. And, good, bad, or indifferent, I am who I am. And this podcast has given me the opportunity to meet other women who have had similar experiences, who learned some lessons, who have taken that mantle up and have said, you know what? It can be done differently. It can be done better. Learn from my experiences, take the lessons that I've learned and take them, right? You don't have to relearn a lesson that's already been learned. And so this show is a mirror. It's a mirror that showed me exactly who I was serving, who was listening, and then who was benefiting. So I want to give you some brief stats. My most listened to age demographic is between like 20 to 35, believe it or not. So it's just sort of like those folks who are starting out in their career, or they may be in the middle of their career. And then the second largest demographic is your 35 to 50. And so those are people who are in my age group. And so I want to say thank you. Thank you so, so, so much for listening, for supporting, for recommending my podcast to people. It's been a herky jerky wild ride all these all these years later, and I can't say thank you enough. The largest demographic of listeners are in the United States, but I have listeners as far from all over the world. I'll say the second biggest country or continent that listens to my podcast is in Africa. So it's really amazing that the show has reached that far. It's reached that far. So again, I cannot say thank you enough. And trust me, next year will be more of us. So if you want to be a guest, reach out to me. I will make sure that all of my information is in the show notes, because of course I always tell people you got to read the show notes. Okay, so let's get into it. Y'all, this year, I want to make this clear from the very beginning. This year stretched me in ways I didn't even think was possible. And I mean in all the ways, professionally, personally, spiritually, strategically, all the areas. And if you're listening to this and you're a woman in STEM, education, leadership, entrepreneurship, and especially if you are a Black woman, you already know what this year has been. You already know what this year has been. I do want to applaud you because I know you don't just do the work, you actually carry the work. You are the work. You're the leader in the office. You're the one who has all of the strategies. You're the one who keeps the team together. Um, you're the one with the information, the knowledge, the experience, the positioning, the just all of the things that keeps offices running everywhere. You absolutely carry the work. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to walk us through what worked, what didn't, what I learned the hard way, and where we're going next. This is not something that like I have a script for. It's not sugar coated, but it is real. And yeah, let's start with the work. Okay, so now what worked this year? Okay, I can tell you what worked for me, and then I'll tell you what I saw out in the world. So this was the year I absolutely stopped chasing proximity and started prioritizing alignment. And for me, that was a shift that changed everything. It changed everything. So what work was being unapologetically clear about what stemming and stilettos actually stands for. Now, y'all know it's not necessarily about the heels, right? And it's not about aesthetics. It is, however, about you as minority women in STEM. It's about competence. It's about confidence. It's about control. It's about owning who it is you really are. And so for me, that meant also getting very, very clear on like who I am and who I am not, what I will do and what I won't do, who is in my circle and who is not. And then what I really want to be known for. Like, I think we all have a moment in time where we actually get to decide that, and we should decide that. And then you need to take steps towards making that thing actually really happen, really occur in the way in which you would like it to. And so this year, we centered real conversations about STEM equity and about education, about our experiences with both of those things in the various areas in which we serve, whether you were in any of the letters of STEM or you're in education. What does it mean when we talk about equity? And not just the buzzword, because you hear it, these days, and these days it has such a negative connotation that you almost don't want to say it. But it's important that we keep saying it because STEM equity matters. This is not diversity theater. It matters so much in the grand scheme of things, especially since we're still talking about the dearth of qualified people in strategic STEM areas, like computer science, AI, all of these areas, coding, just some other areas where there's still job shortages because they don't have enough qualified people, and that they are the big corporations who are saying that we don't have the people for these jobs. So it's important that we keep talking about STEM equity. So we also talked about funding. We talked about power. We talked about who gets to decide what innovation looks like. Y'all, all of these are very vitally important. When we talk about funding, who is getting the money, right? Where is the money going to? And it matters the who and the why and the what. It does, these things actually matter. We talked about power. Who has it? Why do they have it? What are they doing with it? Where is it going? What does it look like? How does it show up in spaces that concern us? We talked about who really gets to decide what innovation, how do we decide whether this is innovation or that's innovation? And and then again, who gets to decide what that is? These are really important conversations because one man's innovation is another man's junk, is another man's bad idea. You see what I'm saying? So we really need to have this conversation a lot more within our own community, in own communities. And there needs to be some overlap where we are working together um, to enlarge the circle. Okay. So I really enjoyed that we had these conversations. And let me tell you something. When you have the real ones, they can be kind of hard. When you have the real conversations, those hard conversations, the difficult subject matter, when you're talking about the things that make people slightly uncomfortable, when you stop softening the message, the right people listen in. They listen in, they lean in, they become enraptured. They want to hear what we're talking about. Now it's just a matter of what are you doing with this information. And so what worked was centering women as decision makers, not just participants, not just students, not just future leaders. The current leaders that are the ones that we're talking about. We're talking about women writing curriculums, women running, implementing programs and projects, women negotiating the contracts, women sitting at tables where budgets are discussed, women sitting at tables or being the decision makers for approved for grants and for other opportunities for other people of color and for programs that are actually doing the work. All of that really matters. Now, we have all heard the numbers about the 300,000 to 400,000 Black women that were laid off intentionally this year. And while we acknowledge that that has happened, and we are doing some work outside of the podcast to really put a stamp on what work we need to do there, I will just say that it hasn't gone unnoticed, and we really need to really be strategic about how that gets addressed and what type of work those women who are actually being reemployed in other places are going into. Are they safe? Are they well? Are they being honored for all of their contributions? All of these things are really important. Another thing that worked was bridging worlds. So classrooms, boardrooms, nonprofit, corporate spaces, community spaces. There are so many of us, way too many of us, that are living in these silos. We're living and working in silos. They're doing work over here, they're doing work over here, they're doing work over here, but none of these people are talking to each other. And so I really want you to know that what we have done purposely is that we don't do that, right? It doesn't matter to me if you are in coding or computer science. That's not necessarily my area, but I want to understand your world. If you're in education and nonprofit, or if you're a corporate leader in an area that maybe I'm unfamiliar with, I really want to talk to you. We refuse to do that this year, and we'll continue to walk in that for next year. Students don't exist without systems. Teachers don't thrive without support. Programs don't scale without partnerships. And so we know that. Like, we know that. I know that. And so we want to be a place where we connect the dots so that this person can talk to that person, can talk to that person, who at the end of the day, everybody can win. Like, it is literally possible. We can all win at this game that we're playing. And so that is what we have done this year, and that is what we will continue to do in 2026. One more thing that worked: saying no. I had to learn the hard way that everything presented to you is not for you. It's not for you to do. It's not for you to comment on. It's not for you to participate in. It's not for you to have an opinion on. Everything that is presented to you, yeah, it's not for you. I had to say no to some underfunded partnerships. Like, you are going to pay me what I'm worth, right? I had to get very, very clear on what my worth is, since we have to put a dollar amount on it, and then live with the idea that, okay, well, I might really want to work with this group, this nonprofit, this school, um, but they don't have the funding for me right now, and that's okay. I literally had to get okay with that, and it was a literal mind shift for me, is that I'm no longer going to uh, change my rates because someone can't afford me. They just can't afford me, and it's really okay. It's really okay, because that means that, for me, is that I'm not supposed to partner with them right now. I'm not supposed to be in collaboration with them at this very moment. We will do something else at a later time. And if they really want to collaborate and partner with me, then they will come to the table with, with the amount. I said no to performative invites. You just want me in the place because you know what I carry with me, right? Or you want me to perform in some way, but it's not necessarily characteristic of who it is I am and am becoming at the same time. And so I've had to really sit back and evaluate the invitations that I've gotten and say, okay, well, I know what you're getting out of it. What am I getting out of it? And decide if there was something there that had me either saying yes or saying no, or had me saying And most of the time, if I had a I was leaning towards no. At this point, my time is valuable to me, and again, time is one of the things that we don't get back. Once it's gone, it's gone. And so I said no to, we don't have the budget, but this will be great exposure. Again, you can't afford me, so thanks, but no thanks. um, Exposure does not pay. It doesn't pay the bills. Exposure does not fund staff, and exposure does not scale impact. So yes to fewer things. That fewer things happened this year as a result of me saying no to some things. But the things that happened are the ones that really mattered. And that's what I'm walking away with in 2025. The clarity, trust me, clarity is a very good thing. A very, 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 very good thing. Now, what didn't work? What did not work in 2025? All right, so I'm not in the business of pretending that everything was amazing, everything was great, everything was over the top, everything just fell into place the way it was supposed to. That would be a lie. What didn't work was overextending myself out of habit. So I would just say I started the year off saying yes to some things that like, even in the midst of me saying yes to, I was already tired. You ever had that feeling, right? So someone comes to you and they say, "Hey, I got this situation, I got this problem." And me being an engineer by training, meaning, I'm a problem solver, right? That means that in my mind, I'm like, okay, I can help in this situation. And then I've got that educator part of me that's like, okay, well, I have the opportunity to teach and educate and fill the gaps and do all of the things. And this year really taught me that every gap is not mine to fill. It's not mine to close. It's not mine to fill. Every problem is not mine to solve. There are some teachable moments that don't need to be taught by me. And I had to come to that realization really early on, really early on. And so some organizations are not ready. Some leaders just want the optics, but really don't want to do the hard work that comes with getting the actual outcomes. And again, that's totally okay. It's just not for me anymore. And then some systems actually benefits from staying broken. Like, I really want you guys to take that in. Some systems actually benefit from staying broken. And so when they bring you in and you're trying to save everything, oh, there's this meme going around that says, today just drained me. It just drained me. I promise you, if you're trying to save everything, it will drain you dry. It will drain you dry, and you will have nothing left to give to anybody else in your life. That's not what we want, and that's not how we are working anymore. Another thing that didn't work was assuming that people understand the value of strategy. Oh my God, can I tell you the amount of conversations I've had around this idea of someone actually paying for strategy, and they're like, why would I do that? I can just come up with it on my own. And my answer to them was always, well, if you could do it on your own, we wouldn't be talking. We wouldn't be having these conversations. Because again, it's everybody says they want strategy, but they don't want to pay for it. And if we're being truthful, and we are, they will pay for it, but then they don't do the follow through. So you almost need someone to help you develop the strategy, again, with your buy-in, but also to give you the implementation steps to actually see that strategy all the way through, and to sort of coach you through it, walk with you through it, to make sure that it actually happened. That's the thing that I've learned. People want quick wins. They want the shiny pilots. They want the make or break projects, but they don't want they don't want to do any of the work that comes along with having those things. They want innovation without the infrastructure that actually hold up the innovation. And so I just learned this year that doesn't work. And so stemming and stilettos is about sustainability. And I mean, we have a record. We have been here for a long time, 10 years. And that means like sort of putting on your backpack and lacing up your boots and doing the actual work. It's saying the prayers, it's getting in contact with the right people, it's getting the advertising out there. It means slow, intentional, and sometimes uncomfortable work. Is putting yourself in a position to where, again, everybody has an opinion about what works and what doesn't work. But it's actually doing the work, the unglamorous, unsexy, but needed work. And the truth is that not everyone is built for it. That's the truth. And the last thing that I'll say about what didn't work is me me explaining myself too much. Too much. I'm over it. I'm absolutely over it. And so if I'm being completely transparent with you guys, I was one of those people who lost my job this year. And in the meanwhile, I started a new venture. And I'm really proud of it. But in the midst of all of that, I was having interviews, and I was, talking to people, and people are always, asking, well, Doc, why do what happened here, and what happened to this, and what about this situation? I'm tired. My credentials are my credentials. My experience is my experience. It I have a CV, I have a resume, I have a reputation, I have, I don't know, proof of concepts of programs and partnership agreements and grants written and won, and just 20 plus years of working in this space that says that, yes, I know these things, and here is why I know these things. I'm tired of having to explain why I know what I know, how I know it, and what it means, right? I'm tired of explaining my experience, the move from here to here, the move from engineering to education to ed tech, what it all means. What you need to know is that you have probably an overqualified person in your midst, and I can probably speak to things that you haven't even experienced yet. And so this year taught me that the rooms that require you to justify your presence, those aren't the destination. Those aren't the destination. You want to be in spaces where people respect not only your expertise, but it shows up. It shows up in the conversations you're having, in the decisions that were made with you, and what and your leadership. Yeah. So, just keep that in mind for yourselves. Okay. Now, the lessons that I learned the hard way this year. Whew, I feel like I've been really transparent in this episode and try to be in every episode, but really want to make sure that you guys know that I really don't have much to hide. There's not a lot that you could ask me that I wouldn't tell you about. But y'all, these lessons, it got personal this year. So lesson number one is visibility without strategy is just noise. It is just noise. Um, you can post every day. You can be seen everywhere. You can say yes to every panel and every conference and still be broke, tired, and overlooked. I'm just going to let that sink in for a minute. You can still be broke, tired, and overlooked. This year had me asking myself, why am I visible and for whom? Like, why does it matter? Like, why does it matter what it is I'm doing? Who is it I'm trying to influence? And what am I doing towards that goal? And then what does it look like? These are the questions that I was asking myself. And like, again, who am I that and why does it matter? So, and you guys should know this, over the years, Stimming in Stilettos has come in many different platforms. But it's not about just being seen. Of course, I want the episodes out. I want people to view, but it's about being sought out. And there is a difference. Okay, so Stimming Stilettos exist for Black women to be able to see themselves, to have the needed conversation with somebody who actually gets it. And I want people to really know that, hey, this is a safe space, and that you can come here and you will not be judged. Like, there's no point. That's not my role here. I am the catalyst and the avenue through which your story gets out into the world. And I want more people to take advantage of that. All right. Lesson 2, everybody loves STEM until it's time to fund it properly. It's like I knew this, but I didn't know it until I launched my own venture. And it's all about making sure that the partnerships between corporate and education, especially if they are talking about funding STEM and workforce development, they talk a good game. But when it comes time to fund it properly, it's a whole different conversation. You want a new STEM program, but you want me to do it on a shoestring budget. Do you really want a STEM program, or you just want to say you're doing STEM, right? You really want to support that the minority ERG at your company, but you basically want people to volunteer all their time, all the time, and still make every deadline that you give them. Like, make it make sense, okay? They love the photos with the kids. They love the slogan. They love saying that they're future ready. They love being able to say, we volunteer at this school with these kids around this idea of STEM, whatever. But what does it all really mean? So when you talk about multi-year funding, when you talk about paying the educators, when you talk about evaluation metrics, And then when you start talking about growth and scale, the room gets really eerily quiet. I don't think it's accidental. I don't think it's accidental at all. Which leads to lesson 3. Rest is not a reward. It's got to be built into the infrastructure. It has got to be built into the infrastructure. Burnout is not a badge of honor. How many of you this year felt the burnout? How many of you, and I'm even talking to the 300,000 women, how many of you, when you lost, you lost the job, and you spent the next week grieving for not being in the job, but how many of you woke up and realized, oh, okay, I can breathe. I have the opportunity to look around and see other things. I didn't know that this was happening. You were probably at some level of burnout. I would bet my life there's a percentage of the women who are in that group that probably was some level of burned out. You were burnt out, you were overworked, you were feeling some level of stress and or maybe slightly depressed or depression. um, I can't prove it. That's a good study for somebody. um, Overwork is not leadership, and martyrdom is not impact, right? So I really want us all to, if you are going back into the workforce to work for somebody else, really highlight and notice those things when you're feeling overly tired, when you can't seem to focus like you used to, when your day keeps getting longer and longer and longer, when you're taking work home, right? When you're overlooked in meetings and you don't even have the you don't even have enough oomph to even speak up for yourself. Notice those things. It's really, really important. This year, I had to build rest into my work and not afterwards, and not feel guilty about it. Not feel guilty about it. That was the thing for me. It's like I would take half a day on Friday and then really have to, oh, I should be doing something, as opposed to just saying, no, you're doing exactly the thing you're supposed to be doing. Resting your mind and your body and your spirit and doing something that is just for Natoshia. It took a long time, honestly, for me to get rest. Because the truth of the matter is, y'all, if I collapse, the work stalls out. The work doesn't get done. So you have to consider what rest looks like for you, and that it is something that you have to plan in. If you have a vacation planned, but there's a big something happening at work, girl, take your vacation. I promise you they will be fine. Do the things you need to do, but don't change your vacation. It's important. And the last hard lesson, my voice is strongest when I stop explaining it to people who were never listening in the first place. Hey, you ain't my people. It's okay. It's all right. We good. We can still be friends, but like, listen, you're not my audience. You're not who I'm talking to. You're not even who I'm talking about. It's really okay. It's good. I'm not for everybody. My message is not for everybody. You probably there are some people who, when I tell them what I do, I can see their eyes glaze over. It's totally fine. So when I'm speaking to educators, when I'm speaking to leaders, and I'm speaking to corporate partners who get it, when I'm speaking to those people, they get what it is I'm trying to do, and where and why I'm trying to do it. Things tend to move pretty fast at that point. But when I try to convince the skeptics, it's like super hard. And ain't nobody got time for that. Like, you're in or you're out. Like, I mean, it's really not my job to convince you that this is something that's needed. If you think it is, then great, let's talk. If you think it's not, okay. So we don't beg for permission. We don't. We do not beg for permission. We set standards, point blank, and the period. So the things that I'm most proud of this year, I want to take a pause because again, we had a long conversation about all the things that happened this year. But I really want to talk about some real ones, right? I'm proud of the students I got a chance to reach this year. And I don't mean just the numbers, the lives, the exposures, the confidence, the curiosity sparked. I mean all of it together. Like, I had an opportunity to be in rooms where students had never experienced STEM on the level in which I was able to bring it to them. I impacted teachers where we did things with them where they got to see STEM in a different way. I had conversations with corporate partners who really were really willing to go down and take a deep dive look at what they have been doing in the community, and who it is that they were partnering with and what it is they really wanted to make impact in. I just it doesn't it makes me so proud of like seeing there's nothing better, and I say this as someone who's taught before. There's nothing better for a teacher or a trainer than when you see the light bulb, like the proverbial light bulb go on for a kid when they got it, when they really understand what's happening, and when they can reach over to their friend or their classmates and say, "Oh no, not like this. Do it like this because XYZ and 1, 2, 3." And that they've been exposed, but they also have learned, and then they grow in confidence. That's what we want. Anybody who's talking about STEM and STEM education in K-12 or K-16, this is exactly what we want to do all the time, every day, all day. I'm proud of the educators that I was able to train, the teachers who were able to walk away with these tools and not just theory. So I didn't do a lot of talking at them. We got our hands dirty. And then along the way, we explained the thought, theory, and processes as to why this worked, right? Plans and not platitudes, right? They walked away with some real things to do in their classroom. And it makes a difference. When you give teachers the tools and you help them learn how to use them, they will implement them in their classrooms. I promise you they will. I'm proud of the leaders who were challenged, right? The leaders who realize that equity is not an add-on, it's not a buzzword, it's not just phrasing, and it's not something that you can actually run away from. It's got to be a part of your design principle. It's got to be when you are putting together your programming, it's got to be in there. It's got to be in there. Equity has meaning. And the people who actually understand that and start putting together their programs around this idea, I think it's a good thing. And I'm actually proud of like all of the partnerships that started this year that lasted beyond the photo ops. The photo ops are great, but the ones that are still going strong long after the event, the big culminating event has happened, they have come back to the table for a second year or a third year, or maybe it's the fourth year, and they've revamped and they've done they've done the hard things of what worked, what didn't work, what do we never want to do again, and then how do we move this thing forward, right? They stayed, they didn't disappear, they didn't ghost after the launch, right? No, we'll circle back next year. They're still in their seats, and they are collectively building those relationships. That was chef's kiss this year for me when those things occurred. And that it makes me really want to go harder in the next year to see more of that, more of all of that. It's why I do what I do and why stemming and stilettos actually really matters a lot in this space. Equity goes beyond saying. So, what does it mean for next year, you guys? Let's talk about the future. Stemming and stilettos is entering a new season, fewer things, bigger results. Paid speaking, not exposure. We're doing programs that scale. We'll be talking more about that on this show than probably ever before. we're not, we're going to do programs that scale and not scramble. I have ownership over my time, ideas, and intellectual property. I am going to be moving with intention. I'm going to be a great steward over all of those things that I just talked about, my time, my ideas, and my intellectual property. I feel like I have to do these things. That means that I'm going to have to set clearer boundaries. I'm going to have stronger contracts and aligned partnerships. If you game for this, then yo, like let's get on board. Let's have the conversations. It also means I'm stepping fully into thought leadership. This means that I'm not going to be just doing the work, but I'm shaping how the work is understood and where the work should go, right? And so it is what it is. This is where we're going. And I know you guys want to come along with me on this ride. So let me say it plainly. If you want access in 2026, you have to come correct. Point blank in the period. Come correct. You got to come with the right budget. You got to come with the right timeline, and you got to come with the correct expectations. This is not gatekeeping. This is stewardship. Stewardship is my word for 2026, and this is me keeping my word in 2026. So, if you followed this journey, if you've followed Stemming and Stiletto for any amount of time, again, thank you. I cannot say it enough. I would not be here if it was not for you. So thank you so much for your support. If you shared posts, if you booked programs, if you invited me into rooms, if you just supported quietly, I want you to know I see you and thank you. If you've been watching, if you've been learning, if you've been waiting, this is your sign. 2026 is not a spectator year. This is your sign to get up and get in the game. And let's do it together. So, Stemming and Stilettos is not a brand, it's not a trend. We are setting the standard. This is how you do this. And standards don't apologize. So, y'all, let's build something that lasts. Thank you.